Good day, everyone. I hope you can all hear me. Welcome, 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 everyone, to the first day of the brand planning workshop. Thank you all for joining this session. This is the first of the series that we will be having. A big thanks to everyone that registered, took out your time, your precious time, to fill the competency assessments, go through all our case studies, and to the ones that joined our WhatsApp group. You are the real MVPs. Thank you all once again. Without much ado, we will be following the agenda, which I'll be sharing on my screen. Just a minute. Let me know if you can see my screen. Okay, so yes, I'll be sharing the agenda for today. We'll be following this agenda, which I'm sharing on my screen right now. But before we proceed, my name is Oluwaseun Majolagbe. I work with PBR Life Sciences. I'm an associate marketing and project lead. I'll be facilitating this session today. We have with us a great trainer of repute, experience, and vision, especially around marketing, that will be taking us through these powerful sessions today. I'm super excited. Now, back to the objective of our training modules. We all understand we are getting to the end of the year 2023, and we all need to start planning for the year 2024. In some of your companies, you've already started planning the new financial year. And so this is very, very important. We go through this Pharma brand planning workshop because this is designed to assist pharmaceutical company marketers, business development teams, decision makers, and also people in consumer healthcare in recognizing, measuring, and capitalizing on market prospects within the fiercely competitive pharmaceutical sector. This comprehensive virtual training program empowers participation with up-to-date insights and cutting-edge tools. It aims to enable teams to formulate successful strategies, fortify brand presence, and cultivate an expanding portfolio. I hope that when we go through our various segments, such as identifying and quantifying market opportunities and segments, strategic development, tactics and metrics, developing a winning marketing and brand planning, and essential financial planning for brand management. I hope it will be an added value to you. Thank you very much. So I'll be handing the floor over to the lead trainer for today, and his name is Mr. Ayodeji Alaran. Mr. Alaran, over to you, sir.
All right, thank you very much. Welcome everybody to this session. I hope you can all hear me. If you can hear me in the audience, just raise up your hand. I also just want to clarify, okay, that you can hear me clearly. Okay, super. All right, so it's a very important period in the year, like my colleague said. And, I believe that there's no time, or perhaps just very few rare times, would it be hard to be a pharma marketer compared to Nigeria of today, right? Or perhaps even to the Africa or the global scene of today, which means that it's more challenging, operating in the market, being a pharma marketing person, or perhaps a business leader. And all of this, means that when the challenges are higher or more, then you need to find, ways to survive. We all know that in the last, perhaps say 10 months, a lot more patients are falling into the I cannot afford segments, or perhaps we'll say the socioeconomic class B have moved down to C has moved down to D, And some A have either moved down to B, or they've, jackpot or left the country, like we all say. So that is one. The second is that, a lot of companies have also experienced major hit in their bottom line, which means that their revenue is either affected or their profit is affected. For example, if you import in dollars or in euros or in pounds, which mostly every company does, even if you're a local manufacturing company, you probably still have to import your actives. At least in the last 10 months, due to the exchange rate devaluation of close about 40%, except you increased your price, right? That has literally hit off 40% from your gross margin. So it kind of puts companies in a situation where you want to increase your revenue, you want to increase the number of patients that are taking your medicines, you want to increase the number of doctors that are prescribing, and you want to increase your presence in the channels, which means your product is available in pharmacy, in hospitals, or at least you want to defend it and sustain it. Somebody said recently that even if your sales doesn't decline, which means that, let's say in dollars, you have maintained your sales in dollars or euros or pounds, it simply means that you have grown, automatically. If you're able to retain your dollar value sales, or dollar value, profit, then you have literally grown because of the devaluation. So what we're going to do on this training today and tomorrow, I'm going to be challenging everyone, right? I'm going to be bringing some very different perspective to change how we think and how we approach pharma marketing. I'm glad to state that, I've done this training for about 8-10 years for more than 10 pharma companies. Almost 100 or 200 people have benefited from this training. But in that time, the training has evolved. In fact, if you attended a PBR marketing training last year, what you're going to be seeing this year will be completely different, right? A lot of it will be different because the market is changing, and we are also getting to learn what's going to work and what will not work. If I look at the list, I think I have 2 of our alumni here. They probably attended one of the first training. I won't mention their name. At least I can see 2 of them here. They know themselves. I won't say more than that. So let me go down to what we're going to be dealing with today. Please, I'm going to rush us a lot with a lot of insightful information, right? I don't want to make it academic. I'm going to make it as practical as possible and applicable as possible. Just a moment as I share my screen, PowerPoint. Let's see what this is. All right. Okay. So what I'm going to do, let me do this in 2 ways. Please bear with me. Just a moment. Right. If you're interested, just as we settle in the training, you may want to introduce yourself in the chat box, right? You can post your LinkedIn profile. I would advise everyone to do that so that you can connect with more people. The more you are connected to other marketing colleagues, the more you get a lot of support. All right, it's very important that you do that. Please, so kindly, everyone, if you can, please, just your LinkedIn profile, you can put it there. Again, it's not compulsory, right? It's only if you are willing to do that. All right, it's not a must. Just to let you know. All right. Okay. All right. Shell, I don't know. Can you share your screen for me? Share the slide. I've sent it to you and Julie. Whichever of you is able to open it first. Let me see. Let me see the chat box. Who has added their LinkedIn profile? Let's connect. Right. The more connected you are to other marketing colleagues, the more information you are able to get. Someone says know your friends, but know your enemies. In this case, I'll say your competitor better. All right, so connect, please share if you are able to. So I'm going to wait for my colleague to just put up my slide and I'll kick it off from there. Whilst she does that, I would like to run a quick poll just to kind of have a feelers of everyone here. Okay, I don't know if I'm no longer able to share. Shil, can you run the first poll of, let me see, Pharma marketing experience? I just want to gauge the audience so that I'm able to communicate in a way that meets your needs. Kindly please share the poll, run it, and let me see what we get. So please, everyone, kindly answer that.
More than 5 years. We have more than 5 years.
Yeah, so everyone, just wait for everyone to finish voting, then you can share the response, all right?
Okay, so I'll do that. I'm about sharing the
slide, yeah.
The slides.
Okay.
Let me check.
All right, so we don't have a lot of time. I'll just wait like 10 seconds more, then we close the survey. Then Oluwaseun can share the results. So 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Thank you. Sheol, can you share the result? Let me see what it looks like.
So we have 13% of non-marketing experience. Okay. We have 21% of 1 to 2 years marketing experience. We have 17% of 3 to 5 years experience, where we have 50% of more than 5 years experience.
Awesome, awesome. So this is a very good mix. I think, again, I'm going to be requesting input from the audience as well, right? So hopefully we are going to be able to learn. I'm also here to learn, all right? Nobody knows it all. To learn from those that have been in the space for 5 years, then also those 3, 1, then also for those that are early entrants as well. Can you also share the next poll, which is the learning objectives? I would like to know what to focus on. So Sean is going to bring up the next survey, which is the learning objectives, just for us to see where kind of the audience is more interested in terms of the 4 modules. Sean, can you share that as well?
Yes, so I'll do that now.
I'm still going to get into the introduction, so to introduce myself, but before we do that, let's just get this done first. So the survey here is which of the modules are you most keen to learn about? Unfortunately, you can only pick one, I think. Yeah. And within the timeline we have, right, only 2 days, it's only realistic to be able to prioritize certain areas. Typically, this training will take like 4 days, but we'll try to see how to cramp it together into 2. How many have voted so far? Sure, we have 34 in the audience.
We have 4, 2, 7.
Yeah, please kindly help to complete this so that we know what to prioritize as we go into the training or the workshop.
We have more of module 3 votes. We have 50%.
All right, no, don't worry. Don't read out.
Can we stop it now? Can we stop the...
Yes, please, because of time.
Okay. Can you see the results now?
Okay, I can see it now. So brand planning process and components of a brand plan. All right, then we have market opportunity identification and sizing. Strategy is the least. Interesting. We'll deal with that later. Then we have, okay, all right. All right, so I'm going to do the last survey for now. The last survey for now. Then later on, we'll do the last one. So can you run the most challenging, the survey of most challenging? We've seen your priority, the module you are keen to learn, but at the same time, I want to know which module is a bit more challenging for you in terms of the components of a brand plan. Shil, can you run that, the most challenging survey?
Yes, sir.
So I want to be able to combine, to focus on what you're interested in, but at the same time also focus on what is most challenging, right, for you when we get into the details. So please run that survey, most challenging. It feels good doing this again. I've not done this in a while.
It's coming up soon, sir.
All right, so let's see the most challenging. So if you've done a marketing plan before, or a brand plan before, or you've done any business plan before, which aspect of it is most challenging? We've simplified it into mainly 6 areas, I think, 6 components, which she will bring up right away. Let me know if you're having any challenge. Okay, it's here. So for this survey, what you have to do is to rank all of this. You will see the drop down. If the most challenging for you, for example, is tactical planning, no, this is the most important. I want the one of the most challenging. This is a different survey. Yeah.
Okay.
Most challenging. Most challenging. All right, so this is it. So which of the following aspects of marketing planning development is most challenging for you when you're preparing a brand plan? If you have not, like those that chose none, that don't prepare brand plan is flying. If you can't answer, just take a guess, right? If you look at this, which of them do you think will be more challenging for you? But everyone else, even for those that have done it for 5 years, right, 10 years, 15 years, there's still some aspect that may be a bit challenging for you. Let's see if we can find that out as well. All right, so we have 35 in the audience. How many have voted so far, Shil?
We have 54% has participated.
All right, let's wait until it gets to like 60%. Please kindly select which.
Okay, we are now in 71%.
Awesome. So share the results. Let's see the results. All right. So, okay, it seems a lot evenly developed. Oh, can you see? I mean, this looks interesting. I know that in the last survey, strategy development was the least of the areas that you wanted to learn. But right here, strategy development is the most challenging. That looks a bit contradictory, slightly, but it's all right. We'll figure it out as we go. Then we have opportunity identification and sizing is also the same. I'm going to bear the cat here. Would anybody like to unmute any of those that voted and talk about the option you chose? Just elaborate a bit more on why that aspect is a bit challenging for you. Anyone, do you want to try? Sean, please put up my slide.
Okay, sir.
Yeah. Anyone wants to unmute and tell us why you chose what you chose in terms of what's challenging? Anyone? We're going to do a lot of talking today. Please, I don't want to be alone on this. Anyone wants to unmute and talk? Why that aspect is challenging for you? And if you talk, I might just focus a lot more on you, on what you want, you know. Anyone? Nobody? You are the co-host now. Okay.
So they will need to raise up their hand, sir, and then we
Okay,
will be able to allow them to do that.
All right, anyone that raises their hand, anybody wants to try, just raise your hand. Why that aspect is challenging, or you want to talk about it? Oh, nobody wants to raise hand. Okay, somebody has written something. Okay, Francis. That hand came up, Mr. Francis, and went back down as fast as it came up. Okay, we can see what Mayowa said here. He said market sizing is challenging due to the lack of robust data and the responsibility of having to do 3 years or more rolling forecasts for the business. And also taking into consideration the evolving dynamics of the environment. I absolutely agree, Mr. Mayowa. Market sizing is like something that is, very fluid, very dynamic. Sometimes could also be at risk of being, subjective, or even at risk of an individual opinion, which could be also a major risk. Anybody else wants to say something about the challenging aspects for you? You can unmute. I think a lot of people have been given the right to mute or mute. I don't know. Talking permitted. All right. So in the absence, okay, I can see here Mr. Ayodele. Please permit me if you're a woman, if you're not Mr. But I can see here from Ayodele Oluwagbemi. It says strategy development is a bit challenging because of the current dynamism of the market. And you are not very sure of the success of a particular strategy. Oh boy, absolutely correct, right? What can you be sure of these days? Then Julius Sean says market sizing has a lot of approaches, so it can be challenging to identify the best approach. All right, so thank you very much. I think a lot of this, I've also raised questions that we have to deal with, and also hear from experts here and experienced colleagues that are on the call. So I'll just start off with some introduction of myself so that you get to know me. Next slide, show. Or can I control the slide if you give me, I don't know, remotely? Or just go on. All right. So my name is Ayodeji. You can just simply call me Ayo. I've walked around a bit. You can see here that I've jumped a bit from everywhere, right? So I started as a sales rep, then also senior medical rep with Pfizer and AstraZeneca, working in the eastern part of Nigeria and also south, and a bit of middle belt. So Enugu, Ebonyi, Benue, Rivers, Delta, Bayelsa. And by the way, I also grew up in the north. I speak Hausa quite well. I'm a Yoruba man, so I'm fully Nigerian, right? Wazobia. Then later I moved to marketing at Mian Baker, and also later on as national sales manager, which was a very important experience, different from multinational, right? Because if you're a product manager in a local manufacturing company, the kind of challenges you face as a marketing person is completely different from when you work in a company that imports. For example, in a local manufacturing company, if your forecast is wrong, you're in big trouble because the company would have bought raw materials and it's going to expire, right? Compared to if you are importing, and you can simply tell your manufacturer to produce a certain quantity. I mean, you're still at risk anyway if you don't sell that quantity. Then from later on, I moved on to GSK as a category marketing manager for Africa and Asia, DC Asia, managing countries in Africa, including Cambodia, Bangladesh, Myanmar, Vietnam, a number of companies. Then I moved into medical device, working with Johnson & Johnson through the third-party distributor called Pacific Diagnostics, where I was responsible for everything, the pill synthesis, implants, surgeries, advanced surgeries, as sales and marketing director, then partly later as general manager. Then I worked in a company called Segidim, responsible for business development across 5 countries in Europe. And my last role was with IQVIA as business development director for Europe, Middle East, and Africa, based out in London. I trained as a pharmacist. I have an MBA from London Business School, China Institute of Marketing, diploma in promotion of medicine with Association of British Pharmaceutical Industry, and some courses and training with Lagos Business School in Nigeria. That is the short bit about me. Next slide, please. So we've done the survey. It's quite clear on certain things that you want to learn. But I'm going to start with the basics, right? When we're doing marketing, it's always very good to start from the basics. because sometimes we assume that we agree in a way, right? Which means that if I have a certain knowledge of a concept in marketing, my assumption is that my colleagues or even my boss understands the same thing, right? Which is why sometimes in the same company, everybody is saying strategy, but in their mind, they all mean different things. So let's deal with that. So what is marketing? This is very simple, right? We all say, no, don't go, don't show them. Come on, go back. What is marketing? Anybody, what is marketing? You can unmute and talk, please. What is marketing? What am I going to do to get people to talk? Julie, what should I do?
Incentivize.
Oh, yes. We're going to have the best participant contributor. We're going to send your gift to your company. Julie, thank you for that idea. We send your gift to your company, a marketing book with another gift. We promise that. The most participatory person here. So what is marketing?
Some people want pounds.
Hello, good afternoon, sir. Hello?
Yes, good afternoon. Please go ahead, Mr. Steven.
Okay, sir. Well, I will just say, for me, simply put, marketing is just the act of promoting a product or services, everything that is done in order to sell that product or service by promoting it. That is marketing.
Wow, everything that is done to promote a product or a service. Thank you very much, Stephen. I think there are some points you're bringing up which I agree with, and I'll talk about that later. Mr. Obioma, please go ahead. Please unmute, Mr. Obioma.
All right, sorry, I was looking for how to unmute. So I think marketing, it's a philosophy that tries to drive product or services to meet the customer's need, to be top on the customer's mind, to connect with the customer. The strategy, the philosophy, the whole process of driving your product or services to connect with your customer. That's what marketing is about.
Wow. Thank you so much, Mr. Obioma. You made use of a word. I'm going to take away a very powerful word, the need of the customer. And we're going to deal with that very objectively. Thank you so much. Mr. Mayowa, please go ahead. Please unmute Mr. Mayowa. Then we'll take Francis because of our time. Mr. Mayowa, please unmute. Okay, go ahead. Oh, unfortunately, we can't hear you. I don't know why. Mayowa. Would Francis please go ahead? Francis.
Hello, can you hear me?
We can hear you now, Mayowa. Go ahead. Yes, we can hear you, Mayowa. All of the times of yes, we can hear you. We can hear you. I will add it up and take my time back. Julie, you permit me?
Noted, sir.
Since we can't get Mayowa, let's do Mr. Francis Nelson. Then after that, Mr. Kunle Adesoye. Then we'll continue, if that's okay. Mr. Francis at all? Oh, we can't seem to hear him too. I'm so sorry, Mr. Francis. I think we'll take you later. Mr. Kunle Adesoye, sir, please, can you go ahead?
Well, thank you very much. To my little understanding, I think marketing is just to answer that question, that why do a customer have to pick your own product and not others?
Oh, wow. Marketing is what creates the why, that a customer has to pick your product and not another. Thank you so much. So I think that helps me to literally answer answer the question as well. Please, the next slide. My slide has some animations, but I think it's not working here. So what is marketing? I think on this call, right, there's a lot of definition of marketing, and I mean, literally many of them are correct, honestly. But I want to bring in a dimension here that I would appreciate for us to take away from this meeting. That marketing is what a company does to create value for customers, right? In other words, we are creating something that is valuable to a customer, and somebody said something before. He said the need of the customer. That is very important in the scheme of things. Also, Mr. Kule this way also brought it up. The marketing creates the why, right? However, on this call, we need to be able to value that or quantify that value that is created for the customer. You know, that's what we want to achieve on this call in terms of our definition of marketing. So when we say we're creating value for customer, or the reason why a customer chooses our product, can we put a number on that value that we have created? But even as we think about this value, one of the things we should keep in mind that this value sometimes is perceived, right? For example, Mercedes-Benz, I think the slogan for Mercedes is, you know, celebrate success, right? So they are creating a perception of success, a feeling, an emotion of success. Sometimes it can be an experience, right? For example, all of us here as, you know, pharma industry people, we sell experience. You know, somebody may argue with me and say, how do you mean we sell experience? Yes, we sell experience. When somebody is sick, he or she wants to experience wellness, right? So even though I'm selling a paracetamol for headache, I'm not selling a chemical component. I am selling wellness to the patient. I'm selling an experience that the patient is going to have, or something that they are going to feel. And if that particular feeling, perception, or experience is greater for my own product than the competition, then obviously I will be the better alternative that the client or patient is going to select, like Mr. Kunle said. So really, marketing is in the business of creating value for a defined customer segment in which we have a deep understanding of their need. Mind the word, deep understanding of their need. Next slide. All right, so this is quite busy, right? It's a busy slide. I didn't intend to make it busy, but unfortunately I couldn't simplify it further. Bear with me, I will improve on my Excel PowerPoint skills. The way to look at this slide is to go from the bottom, right? So ignore everything at the top, just look at the bottom, which is the opportunity cost. So right now, we want to quantify the value created. So for example, value created by my antibiotic to the patient, value created by my multivitamin for the patient. How do I measure this value? How do I quantify it in naira, in dollars, or in pounds? First of all, it starts with what we call the opportunity cost. Now, you don't need to bother yourself too much about this. This is coming from your supplier. In other words, you know, the company that manufactures for you, maybe in India or Rubindo, Medrike, whatever they are the ones that had to decide, for example, if they want to set up a factory, right? And this is important because they are taking away the cost of manufacturing from you, and that exposes them to a certain kind of risk, you know, like you understand. So they're taking a decision, which is the opportunity cost of investing millions of dollars in a facility in which they could have put the same millions of dollars in, you know, fixed interest rate or bonds, which are obviously lower risk, right? But they've chosen manufacturing, so the opportunity cost. Now, for you as a company, the conversation starts with the cost. So the cost of you acquiring that product, right? So this could be what we call the FOB, or the landing cost, or you building your cost. That is the cost of the product, all right? Now, between your cost and your price, the price at which the product is sold to the end user or the patient, this is what we call the price. So the difference between your cost and the price of selling that product is the value that your company captured. You created a value that is equal to a certain price difference with your cost. In other words, I bought a product, let's say at 100 naira, and I sold it as 300 naira. The value I created for my company is 200 naira. Now, that is the beginning of the marketing responsibility. So that is the beginning of the marketing responsibility. Yeah. So that is the beginning of the marketing responsibility, which means that we all as marketers, one of the very important responsibility that we have is the ability to, you know, expand that difference between cost and price without losing market, right? So yes, we've said marketing is the reason why you pick our product, understanding the customer needs and all of that and all of that. If we can't convert that to money, it's a waste of everybody's time. It's simply just poetry, right? So for us really as marketers is how much can we increase the difference between the price and the cost without losing our market position, without losing customer, in fact, even growing our customer. And that is the core responsibility of marketing. In this case, we are creating value for the company, or what we call value capture. So every time you hear value capture in marketing for a company, it simply means the difference between the price and the cost. Now, this is very good, right? This is very good. But really, the ultimate is creating the value for the customer, or creating value for the customer, or what we call the customer value capture, which is the customer's willingness to pay something that is even higher than our price. And that is perception. In other words, if a customer goes to buy, let's say, a certain formulation or paracetamol, and he or she somehow in their mind believe that, this thing really works so well and works so fast, and the taste is quite good, is excellent. And in fact, if the price of this thing was like 200 instead of 100, I will still buy it. That is the willingness to pay the 200. In other words, in the mind of the customer, there's a greater perception of value, even more than the price. So one of the key responsibility of marketing is to see how do we create a perception or a feeling or an experience for a customer in such a way that even when they buy the product, they feel like if you increase the price, they will still buy. And this is very practical, right? It's something that is done in marketing. And these are some of the things that I believe that we need to start considering, right? As marketers in the industry, to grow our industry, we need to go back to the basics. I remember one of the webinars we did back then. Julie, remind me, because I can see one of our elders here, Mr. Lulojo. Yeah. Can you remember that phrase from Mr. Lulojo when he described marketing back then? I think I still remember.
The one of going to Benin, or which of them, sir?
No, the one that he said that marketing without marketing is like doing something in the dark.
Oh, of course, it's the Benin conversation. It's like taking a trip to Benin around 9 p.m. at night without a headlamp.
Yeah,
it means driving blindly.
Driving blindly. So what marketing does is to create a roadmap in which we can have this product that we priced at 200 Naira, but in the mind of the customer, based on the experience they have, the feeling, please mind the word feeling. This is very important for pharma people, especially if you're managing an OTC brand. Because we are scientific people, and it's fine. Many of us did pharmacy, pharmacology, and all of that. We think too much in science. We don't get into the emotion of the customer. We don't get into the feeling of the customer. And our colleagues in FMCG have mastered this thing. I mean, you see it on TV every time, advert on channels, TV, 10 o'clock, advert and all of that. They understand the feeling of the customer. They get into that experience, the feeling of that. So basically, what we do in marketing is through all of our strategies and all of that, we create products, we create communication that puts a perception in the customer or an experience in such a way that when they are paying a price, they're actually feeling they are getting more than they paid for. How do we measure this? Please, if you're doing your a price review, especially if you have an OTC brand and you're doing a price review, please kindly consider doing a willingness to pay survey. In other words, if you have an OTC brand, let's say for pain, but your own OTC brand has a certain active or a certain formulation where the patient would have a better taste in their mouth or have a faster relief, do a survey and ask them that, the current price for this particular competitor product is this. However, for our own product, if you get this additional feeling, additional, speed, additional this and this, how much more will you be willing to pay compared to the competition? So that's called the willingness to pay survey, because I think that these are some of the areas that we can improve on our pricing and our margin capture going into the future. So keep it simply, and I think this is the way I'm going to in terms of the conclusion. that marketing really is about creating value to the customer in such a way that the customer, be the patient, the doctor, feel that they are getting a lot, of value from the product. It could be, like we said, efficacy, better dosage form, better taste, for example, and all of that going forward. I can see one hand raised, Mr. Kunle, so please go ahead, sir. Hello, sir. You have your hand raised. Can you unmute, Mr. Kunle Adesoye? Is it from before or now? Oh boy. I think it's from before, right, Julie? Is it?
I think it's from before, so.
Yeah, if it's from before, can you just put down the hands for us so that I'll know who is raising hand now? All right.
Noted.
So show next slide. Let's move faster now. So let's look at a simple case here. This is one of the cases that we published about creating customer value, right, for the customer. Tomorrow, we're going to go into the details of brand plan and all of that, but I want us to deal with certain elements of it that are very critical. So this is a case of marketing creating value for the customer in such a way that they feel that what they are perhaps paying is less than even what they are benefiting from. Next slide. And it's a case you all know. We've published this before. And what was the situation on ground, right? We all know that a lot of patients, all of us are probably past patients here. Some of us, many of us have used anti-malarials. And the challenge used to be that, some of the tablets are not really palatable. In fact, some people try to swallow without it touching their tongue. It's a very serious experiment to try. And what did LB do? They had this fantastic idea to go and research and get insight on, even though this is a very established segment, anti-malarials, there are more than almost 500 anti-malarials brands out there. How do we play? And they discovered that patients were not getting the right experience in terms of taste, as simple as that, right? And what did they do? They brought out a new formulation, which is the soft gel. And on doing that, let's go on, next slide. They came down to the value proposition. We'll deal with this later, right? In terms of what they are looking to communicate, what's the experience, and what was the message? Easy to swallow, no aftertaste, and rapid response. What's the result? Next slide. There was a balance in the value price perception, right? In other words, the patient felt like, okay, I can pay more. I don't mind paying more because obviously I'm not having the bitter taste, which means that a value has been created for me and is being captured. And what was the result of that, quickly, before we go on? Yeah, there's an increase in soft gel consumption, even compared to tablets in the market. And this is from pharmacies in terms of what was dispensed in pharmacy. And obviously here we can see that there's an increase in value as well in terms of sales of soft gel formulations. Next slide. The same in revenue, right? You can see 17% growth in volume and 14% growth in value. So in other words, next slide, what we're simply saying is that once we dig deep into the customer, understanding what their pain point is, like somebody said, understanding their need, we're able to dig deeper and find that value that we are creating. But before we go on, I want to do this last survey. I promise this is the last one because of our time. What we call the marketing plan component ranking. When we look at brand plans, what do we consider to be the most important part of a brand plan, right? So you're doing a marketing plan or a brand plan. What's the most important? Let's see the opinion in the room. We'll talk about that briefly before we go into the workshop. All right. So this is the result. What we're saying is the result. Is it? Okay, it's not. It's a survey. All right. So which of the following is most important and forms the foundation of a pharma marketing plan? What's your opinion, everyone? Show how many have voted. I think we have 37 here.
No participant yet. No participant. Nobody has participated. Okay. We now have 2%.
Okay. Don't worry, I can see the percentage, but I can't see how many have. Yeah. All right. What do you think? And we're going to discuss this briefly. Let's hear from also experienced marketing colleagues here that have been in this field for years. Oh, someone said the survey is not up. Is that the same issue for everyone? I can see 4 have voted.
Survey is up because at least people are voting.
Okay.
So we have just 5 people that are voting.
Yeah, let's get more votes. Okay. I'm trying to interpret the colors, you know. I think the first one is number 1, the light blue.
Yes, the light blue is number 1.
Okay. All right, we have 11 so far. Maybe when we get to 20.
Oh.
Okay, please kindly vote more. Let's just get 3 more votes, then we're done. 3 more, we're going to 20. Yes, 18 now, 2 more. 2 more. 19, 20. Okay, 21. Okay, 22, 23. All right, I think we've got a new, very good numbers. If we, okay, let's continue. All right, I think we can end the poll now and share the results. All right, share the results. Okay, so we see here number 1 is market opportunities identification, if I'm correct, followed by strategy. Then, oh, I think, percentage-wise now, here I think tactics and strategy are almost at par. But obviously, opportunity and education is number 1. All right, so let's take some perspectives there before we continue. Would anybody like to share your opinion on this as well? Does this outcome also reflect your opinion as well? Or if there's anything else you would like to share? Please, let's share some knowledge. Just raise your hand or unmute, please. Julia, I hope you are taking notes of our most active participants.
Definitely, I am, sir. I am.
All right. Okay,
Now,
go
this
ahead.
point, I want to be a participant so that I can be part of the incentive.
Unfortunately, you cannot be.
So
Sean,
we have
Julia,
Sean.
yeah.
All right. Good evening, everyone. Good evening. Can you hear me?
Yes, please, we can.
Yes.
All right. Please take note. I had given a definition for marketing that wasn't read out. It's in the chat box.
Sorry.
So I participated that time. So please take note.
Thanks for your participation, right? Okay.
All right. So in terms of this ranking, I think the first, the most important parts are understanding where you are today. So things like market sizing. I mean, you want to go into a market or you are in a market, how big is that market? Is it shrinking or is it growing? I think those things are important. Also knowing what the competition is doing. How have they, positioned themselves? What are they doing to attract and, increase their perception or the perceived value with customers? Those things are important. And then they can help you, what needs, are there any needs, are there any gaps? Once you've done that, it will help you formulate a strategy that has a higher chance of working. I think those 3 things are, the most important before you now start dovetailing into what the tactics are that you're going to deploy to achieve your strategy, as well as what, budgets or what your finances, what finances will be needed to achieve it. I think that's the ranking. If you don't start from where you are, you will never get to where you want to get to.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you.
Thank you so much, Mr. Sean. That was quite helpful, quite insightful. It helps you to set direction. All right, so I think at the end of the day, Julie, please, if you can see the chat area, can you read the chat for us whilst I look at hands that I raised? We're just going to take one more person, please, your voice. Then after that, Julie will read out the comments. Any other person, please? What's your view on the importance of this, the ranking, and what do you think as well? Anybody? Oh boy. All right. So
okay,
Judy,
can I read
before
out?
you read, no, before you read it, then I want to ask, we're very blessed today to have some very important people here, leaders here. And I know we didn't inform them, but I'm going to use this opportunity. You can't blame me. I use opportunities when I see them. It's very important for us to also think of when we do these plans, right? And these our plans go to the managing director. Which part do they want to focus more on? What do they want to see? Which part is important to them? I think that is important too, Julie, right?
Very, very important. Very, very important.
Mr. Lolo knows I'm coming to him for that question. So he's the one that will help us, when the plans come to you, sir, as the MD, speaking for all the other MDs in the industry, which part of this our plan do you go to and is most important to you? So Julie, read that. Then I think, please, sir, if you can, Mr. Lolo, I know we didn't inform you about this, but just taking the opportunity, if that's okay, sir.
Well, okay. Thank you so much, Ayo. I'm actually in Canada.
Oh, okay.
Wow. Yes, I joined this program in Canada for one reason, that I support what you are doing. And I believe that our colleagues are learning the messages that are coming out. With everything that you must have written in the plan, when it gets to the man who is going to sign it off, he will look at the bottom line. So what is all this about? At the end of the day, what do we get out of it? I remember as a marketing manager in Roche, what my MD will sign is that part of cost-benefit analysis. It will just circle, the net benefit. It will circle that one and put approved on it. So why all your current situation awareness, knowing the market, opportunities and everything, strategy development, they are very, very important. And they are the one that is going to lead you to what the man will circle and approve, because that is now what is going to judge you on when you move on from plan to execution.
Everyone, we all heard the MDs. Bottom line, the circle, what's going in, what's coming out, what's going in, what's coming out. And I think this is one of the conversations that has come up in the marketing community globally about marketing metrics, which means that how do we as marketers demonstrate, impact with numbers rather than too much of the words and all of that. The words are important, right, for us, like Mr. Lulu said. Thank you so much, sir, for that. Very, very insightful. I think it's going to bring our awareness more and more to know our internal stakeholders. Yeah. So what does the MD wants to see? What's going to help the field people in my plan? What does procurement want to see in my plan? What part of my plan is going to assist with that? Even for supply chain, what part of my plan? Because literally, your marketing plan is the heartbeat of the company, and it sets the direction for everything. I remember in one of the companies I worked for, were two marketing people. It's a major company in Nigeria. The MD will come to us, me and my colleague, every Monday, or you will call us to the office and say we are the problem of the company. And we're like, how can just two of us, out of 100+ people in the company be the problem? And right now, I understand what he meant, that except we do something that creates value, that affects the bottom line, we'll all be wasting our time. Again, thank you so much for that, sir. We probably will still call you again for some, wisdom words. And please, everyone, feel free to contribute as well. We want to hear from you and learn from you. So I want to go into another part now because of our time that is very important. We've all agreed that opportunity identification and quantifying it is very important. But the question again is, how often do we do that? How often do we do that? I understand that as an industry, we've been locked in the guesstimate world, right? Where oftentimes we have to make guesses or use our experience that we've had on the field, all of which is very useful. But the issue that I'm going to deal with today is, how deep can we go? How specific can we be, or at least attempt to be going forward in transforming our industry? Because right now we cannot afford to, pardon me if I use the word gamble with the resources that are available, which are very limited, by the way, right? We want to ensure that the segment we are choosing, the particular customer group we are going for is well defined, right? And I want to say this again. It has always been what I tell companies. There's nothing like my target is cardiovascular market. There's nothing like that. In fact, there's nothing like my target is anti-infectives market. There's nothing like that. What you're going to find is beta lactamase market. What you're going to find is CCB market, right? Or segment. That is what you should be looking at. Why? Because if you don't do that and you say, I'm going for cardiovascular, you have a risk of either over forecasting, right? Because you are not narrowing down to the real segment where the alternatives of your product operate. So I'm going to go a bit into that. I'm going to give examples that would inform the question of what can we start doing differently within the limited data that we have in the industry, and of course, with the limited resources that our companies have. Next slide. So the first point here, like we all said, and I agree to this, that opportunity quantification is the first, mind the word, rational, rational step. I use the word rational because honestly, sometimes I feel like, how would a company spend so many millions of importing products, or sometimes even billions, and they've not invested, let's say even 0.01, 0.01, or 0.001 on insights and data to quantify the market? I'm very sorry. Maybe somebody can tell me the reason why as we go, right? And these are some of the things that we want to change and start to inculcate in our younger colleagues, to say that if you bring a plan to the MD, if you bring a plan to the marketing director or the marketing manager, the question is, okay, what little data did you gather? What little insight? Again, it may not be even data from PBR. We are not saying you should buy data from PBR, right? It's a question of, did I even visit like 10 hospitals, 20 pharmacies? I went to see myself. I collected data from this. If you look at your database, you probably have, maybe 20 active wholesalers or 40 wholesalers. You can get some information from the whole 20 and start planning from there. So the key thing for us that we need to take away, right, hopefully from this, is that we need to start sizing the pie, right? I know that pie is not a Nigerian thing, we need to be sizing what we eat from in terms of the big picture, so that we can see, number one, what size of the pie am I even getting right now? And what size of the pie am I able to get? And I'll show an example of this. Sometimes we look at, let's say we have some data on imports. We also have data on, what pharmacies sell. We can see some of these things. And sometimes we see some products, that are selling, or brands, and we are shocked, right? We are shocked, like, is this even possible? Yes, it is possible, right? So some companies, pardon me, or probably some marketers, they over-celebrate success internally, and they're not being externally focused, which is you go outside and see what is happening outside and comparing yourself with outside, haven't quantified the entire pie. Next slide. So when it comes to opportunities, where can we find opportunities, right, in going into 2024? Now, I'm going to dispel certain thoughts we think when we are thinking about pharma market opportunities. There are some thoughts we've had that I think we should readjust. I mean, they're not totally wrong, but I think we should start readjusting them. For example, when it comes to the therapy area or segment, so therapy area, for example, we're saying the bigger cardiovascular or AI market as it is. Now, the size of a segment, you know, somebody may say anti-infective is worth 300 billion, right? That in itself is not an opportunity, right? The size of a segment in itself is not an opportunity. Why? Because you don't know how saturated the segment is. For example, you have a segment that is worth 400 billion naira, but in the same segment, you have 1,500 brands. Compared to another segment that is worth 25 billion, and you have only 4 brands or 5. So in our mind, when we're quantifying, you know, the market going into next year, it is good to know the market size, the therapy area size, but we should balance it with how many brands, you know, compete in that segment. What is the amount of innovation that is possible in that segment? Can we even cope? Can we compete? Do we have what it takes to compete in the segment? And more importantly, how is that segment growing? How is it changing over time? Is it growing in volume? Is it growing in value? And don't worry, right? Don't ask me, oh, okay, PBR, IO, all these things you are saying are good in theory. Where do we get the data? You'll be surprised that the data exists. Even if we don't have 100%, right? Let's start from 30% of the data, because if you have 30% of data, what you simply have done is that you have de-risked yourself by 70%. Keep in mind that your overall risk before of not having data was 100%. But now you have data that is telling you 40%, which means that at least you've taken care of 60% of your risk. So really, when we're defining opportunity, the opportunity is not in the size of the segment. The opportunity is in the growth of the segment, or the size of the segment balanced with the number of players in terms of number of brands and SKU. If we look at the Nigerian pharma space, there are about 8,500 brands and about 10,000 SKUs. You know, as at last year, we see up to about 0.1% new entry into the market, depending on the class. Obviously, certain therapy classes are more active, so you have more companies coming in, more brands coming in. But that gives you an average of the number of brands we have in the market. Then we're also having the emergence of new segments. What are new segments? New segments are basically new drugs that have gone out of patent, in which, at the moment, we don't have that particular class being sold in the country. And you see a lot of this, for example, in oncology. You see a lot of this in diabetes. And that's why I think, you know, and this is an advice and request, that there should be somebody in the company, one person, whose job is to keep a register of all the products that are going to come off patents between now and the last 5 years, and the next 5 years, and the ones that have come out of patent in the last 5 years. In other words, we have a register, all the products that have come out of patents or patents expired in America and Europe and the rest in the last 5 years, and the ones that will come off in the next 5 years. Now, it doesn't mean we are going to launch any of them, right? It doesn't mean that we still need to do opportunity identification and all of that, but at least it gives us an idea of maybe new segment that are going to enter the market that we can pioneer as a company and rip off from maybe in the next 10 years before other copycats come in. Another very important area is molecule of formulation. And I think really if we look at the Nigerian pharma market and even the African pharma market, it's really very difficult for us to commercialize new products coming out of R&D, right? I mean, these are very expensive products. Some of them, one dose is about 10 million, 15 million, right? Our patients are not there yet. So when we look at the opportunity in Nigeria, oftentimes it stays around products that have expired, you know, product that expired, or when I say expired, I mean the patent is expired. So it gives us opportunity to find opportunity in the area of new molecules that we can bring, or new dosage form, or new formulation. For example, is there any trend of unavailability or such shortage of a supply of a drug class or molecule, right? Is there something like that happening in the market that everybody else cannot see? You know, opportunity often comes in the place that everybody doesn't see. especially the kind of opportunity that can give you a differentiated advantage in the market. So as a company, are we investigating? Has there been any unavailability which has been consistent, or has there been any shortage of drug class or molecule? Now, not temporary. I'm not talking about temporary shortage. I'm talking about a situation where there's increasing diagnosis, increasing doctor demand, but the drugs to treat them are not matching up. And I believe that those things exist, right? But who is searching? Another area of opportunity is growing demand for a formulation or a dosage form. For example, I've shown you an example of the malaria segment where, you know, the gel form of anti-malaria is catching the attention of adults. But for the children formulation, is anybody finding a solution? Is there a problem for children there when it comes to anti-malarials that needs to be innovated around? That we can also check. Then, like I said before, new products that are going off patent, is there a growing volume consumption? For example, we noticed in our data that during the COVID era, there was increase in, you know, multivitamin consumption, either likely due to people seeking for, you know, immunity or to boost their immune system. So a lot of people were taking vitamins. Even though it's still kind of looking consistent to some extent, that could be an opportunity. And we're seeing a lot of companies show interest in vitamin segment because some of the patients that were taking the medicines then, for some reason, seem to be continuing. All right. So there could be a growing trend of volume consumption, which often we can see in imports or we can see in pharmacies. Then obviously the pricing and the cost opportunity. The reason why we say price and opportunity is if you can have a cost advantage. All right. We don't encourage companies to go into price war, right? It's never sustainable. But if you feel that for the same product, where there's a lot of demand, you can get the same product, you know, cheaper without compromising quality, and you have the capability to market it and get the customer attention, then you want to give that a try. Then also when we look at the area of disease and treatment, right? Are there increasing in-clinic diagnosis of certain specific diseases? Mind the word, I did not say prevalence. Sometimes, and I've done this before, I'll confess, right? As a marketing manager, I go on the internet and I'll type prevalence of hypertension. Then I'll see one percentage like that. Then I'll use that to multiply the whole number of adult patients in Nigeria, right? That's not what we're saying. What we're saying is in-clinic prevalence. Sometimes the prevalence you see in some of those research are patients that have the condition, but they are not going to the hospital. So if you use that kind of data, which is general prevalence in the population, and you're not considering that some of them just put, you know, the holy book under their pillow as a treatment, then you would have been over forecasting. So it's good to also narrow it down to, of this prevalence, how many of them will go to the hospital? Of the ones that go to the hospital, how many will be treated with lifestyle changes or, you know, drugs? Of the ones that are treated with drugs, how many will be placed on a calcium channel blocker? Of the ones that are placed on calcium channel blocker, how many of them will be treated with a brand? Of the ones that are treated with a brand, how many will prescribe a 5 milligram or a 10 milligram? Now, yes, it may look theoretical, but in real sense, actually, there are certain research you can do to narrow it down so that you are being more specific. And I'll show an example later. Because of our time, I'll just go to the last part, which is the patient lifestyle and behaviors. From the data we see as well, back end, we believe strongly that one of the segments that is going to grow significantly, at least in the next 5 to 10 years, is the OTC segment. And this will happen because we have a very young population that are not necessarily presenting with the normal chronic diseases, even though we are seeing new early onset diabetes, we are seeing new early onset hypertension and all of that because of the stress of living in the cities. Some of these young people are now very keen about their health, for example, their wellness, and companies are going to be investing more to understand the consumer in terms of the consumer insight. For that reason, I'm going to show some data later on that will try to move us, you know, and this is important for OTC companies here, to move us from just thinking drugs to now classifying drugs by the patient persona. In other words, we're not just only looking at, let's say paracetamol, right? We're looking at, okay, paracetamol for patients within a certain age group. What does that look like? How many of them are out there and how much would they be willing to spend? Which means that the companies that will really take advantage of this opportunity of the OTC segment will be companies that understand consumer insights, right? Not science. Science will take care of itself. Companies that understand, how patients are thinking and even try to look beyond patients as patients, which means you're not looking at customers as patients again. You're looking at them as consumers, right? And you want to get into their mind. What are they thinking? I'll talk about that later. So under this patient category, we are looking at unmet needs or discomfort that they are having with current formulation. I know my dad, blessed memory, was hypertensive and diabetic. And at a point, he just told me, Ayo, I'm tired of drugs, right? There are too many tablets. Too many tablets. So that could be an issue that you want to deal with in hypertension, you want to deal with in diabetes, for example, where you bring in your own combination that doesn't even exist in the market, where you have to make a pitch to NAFDAC. You have to do a bit of reformulation in India, in China, in Germany, and you run some basic, pharmacodynamics testing and all of that to get some data out, right? That could be possible, and that is something that we should consider. So increase in knowledge and interest in their personal health, like I said, affordability challenges and pressures, dosing or side effects, dosing or side effect fit with their lifestyle. Can your antibiotic or can your antidiabetes be once a day, right? Instead of twice daily or whatever. Then of course, age and disease related challenges with drug usage. So for cancer patients, what are the vitamins that cancer patients should need, right? Or take? What are the vitamins that diabetic patients should take? We know that alphabetic is doing great. Wellbetic, quite a number of them in that segment. So what I'm saying here is that these are the dimensions that we can look at when we're thinking opportunity going to 2024. And for all of this, please, we need to quantify them. Next slide. We need to be able to quantify them, right? So what's the core takeaway? Opportunities can be qualitative, but must, mind the word, right? Must have quantitative aspects. In other words, if you say that I want to go for a particular segment, you should be able to tell us, right? And I think the marketing manager should be asking the product manager or the group product manager. Group product manager should be asking, everyone should be asking this question to say that, okay, we want to deal with in the antihypertensive space, okay? Or we want to deal in the segment. Give us a statement like, the segment is growing by X% and is worth this value, and there are a total of about whatever million of parts consumed, which means it is quantifiable, right? And based on that, I can look at my own market share and look at what I want to get. And we'll see an example of that tomorrow. For example, you can have a total size of a segment that is worth X, which you can take X billions in the next 5 years. If it is the area of patients, right, quantify it. X number of patients or consumer aged between this, in this particular socioeconomic class, this is what they earn, their salary range, which that have this particular lifestyle, and they want this particular feature, but can't find it. And they are willing to spend X naira if they find it. So this is work, right? This is work. And once you do this part, it makes every other part easy. In fact, my advice is that, if you're going to do your brand planning, let's say from October, from June or July, August, September, 3 months, invest in this. Spend time getting the data. Go to the market, speak to the customer, form some patient groups and talk to them. Who says you can't get diabetic patient? 10 of them, sit down with them and say, let's even talk, right? You guys take metformin, you take out this. What are your problems? What are your challenges? Even if you can't get a new formulation from that conversation, at least you can build something when it comes to marketing communication from what you hear them say, right? So these are some of the things that we can consider. If it's in a particular disease area, right? So maybe you want to go for hypertension, you want to go for a patient with stroke. What are the number of patients diagnosed with that disease? Numbers, try to work it out. And not just the numbers, what percentage of them are treated with a particular class of drug? What is the potential volume that they consume in drugs in a year? And, you know, if you have your own brand compared with others as well. All of these are possible and can be done, right? We will try to look for another session, at least just one day, that we can do some of these very practical and real life scenarios of what we've done in the past in terms of how you can quantify all of this opportunity. I'll stop here. Is there a question for me in the chat box area, Julie? Or anybody wants to ask a question or make a comment before we go on?
Not at the moment. However, if you can hear me, can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Okay, so I want to put myself in the position of, you know, some product manager, maybe in a particular company currently. Looking back at one of the statements you made earlier, in terms of having a value proposition, you shared the case study of Amatem having, you know, a very good, you know, feature that, you know, in terms of the dosage formulation. The question will now be, my question is this: how, because I'm trying to do a role play.
Yeah.
I do not have a specialized dosage formulation. It is a tablet I have, a regular tablet. It is just regular, but I am expected to deliver this number for my company. How would you take me back as a product manager? How would I help my company succeed in a very competitive market space? It's just the regular tablet. My company has it. I have to sell. So how would I do it? I don't have a special formulation. What do I do in terms of practical steps? Should I go back to my messaging? What can I do with my team that will sell that product? That is one. Then the second part where you shared, you know, willingness of patients to buy. Willingness, because we are in a situation where the dollar is already at 1,000 and we do not know where it will be. So cost and pricing issue is continuous. It is a very sore part, but we have to put that in perspective. How will I thrive in my planning, especially in the costing elements? Thank you.
Great question, great question. I think a lot of those questions will be answered when we get to the strategy part, right? However, you know, let me talk about this from an ideal perspective. Every time a marketer has a challenge with a brand, ideally, right, what we should do is ask that marketer, can he or she go and find the plan they did when they were going to launch this molecule? Do you get it? Because sometimes we end up duplicating efforts, right? Somebody must have done a plan somewhere. I'm hoping, right? I'm hoping. For example, because if you're going to launch a new brand, somebody must have done the need for that brand. Somebody must have done the volume forecast or whatever. Somebody must have done the opportunity identification and everything. And especially in a place where people change roles, or new people come in, old people go out, sometimes we lose information. So that's where I'll start from. The second part is that when you look at your, it's not that we don't have time to go into it, right? Your 5 P's of marketing, right? Some people say it's 7, some people say it's even 21, right? You look at your 5 P's of marketing. You have the product, you have promotion, you have price, you have place or logistics, then obviously you have people. When you can't change products, right, what you do is you look at the other elements that are critical for the survival or success of your product. If you're going to work from the angle of your communication, which means that you have a deeper insight on what a malaria patient feels, right? How it affects their life, how it affects their family, how that they cannot, you know, do certain things. It affects their function. That is one. Then you want to also know how they feel when they recover. And out of that, you strike something that other companies don't know about, you know, the consumer insight. Then maybe you can leverage that as well. Then you also have even in the areas of your packaging, right? I may not be able to change the drug content, but maybe my packaging is even bad, right? Such that it doesn't, the economics of it on the shelf. So when one area is not working in your 5 P's, you can look at the other 4 areas to say, around my promotion, is there something I can do? Now, please, this should not be an academic exercise, which means that I just sit down and change my product pack, or I just sit down on my laptop and I think of one message and I just craft and leave behind, call one designer to come. I know how we do it. Call one designer, design artwork. No. All of this intervention in your 4 Ps should also be insight driven. There should be a why. Why are you doing that communication? Why are you changing the pack? Why are you changing the price, right? And it should be verifiable from the segment that you are going for. I can see hand is raised. Mayowa, please go ahead. You want to contribute? Or please, other very experienced colleagues here, anybody, kindly also help me find answers to Julie's question. If you want to share.
Hello, can you hear me?
Yeah, go ahead, Mayowa.
Oh, okay, thank God. Thanks, Ayo. I think I wanted to contribute to what Julie said, but you basically touched on it. And if you cannot, I think it's about differentiation and positioning. So if you can't differentiate your products, maybe because of the formulation and so on and so forth, unless you want to look at packaging, like you said, of course, after doing some kind of test, what does the market really need? What are the gaps in the market that you can focus on? You can differentiate the other elements of the marketing piece, like you said. Or you can also you can even drill down from 4 marketings, the 4 P's of marketing, even down to your service delivery, depending on what the market needs.
Your reps, huh?
Actually, yeah, even your reps. Maybe it can be as simple as your reps all wearing red all the time. Maybe that's the differentiating factor, depending on what your customers need, or whatever gap you're able to identify in the market. It could be as simple as your service delivery. Maybe you will become the delivery company that delivers any order in 24 hours, things like that. So there are very, very many ways to differentiate yourselves apart from just focusing on the product. That's what I wanted to add. I think you kind of touched on it already.
Thank you, Mario. Incidentally, I was chatting with one of these founders, tech founders in the startup space, and she has an app called, I think it's called Pregify, right? It's an app that helps pregnant women and all of that. And I asked her that, has any pharma company reached out to her to form a partnership with her for them to, offer their pregnancy vitamin to pregnant women through the app, right? In such a way that as a pregnant woman, if you download the app, you get a unique code from the app, and you go to a pharmacy to redeem, your app.
So what's the name of the app again?
I won't tell you. That's a consulting service. Mr. Sheyi, that's why you are muted. I'll tell you.
Well, the name of the app just caught my attention, and I just felt to
yeah, it's called Pregify.
Pregify. Okay, thanks.
Yeah. And this is one thing, right? We should do, marketers here. Let's connect with tech. Let's reach out to them. Is anybody doing something with Pharma here? It's not just about stock. It's not anybody do anything with drug stock. It's not just about supply products. Can you put the advert on your product on the platforms that they use in pharmacy? Right? They have pharmacy, Mrs. Pharmacist Odubaki, Health Advantage. They provide softwares to pharmacies. Can you put your adverts on the software inside the pharmacy? So those are some of the innovations that we can consider in dealing with some of the questions that Julie raised. Now, please, also when you are working on your 4 Ps or 5 Ps in a situation like this, it's also important that you keep in mind the bottom line. Remember, our MD, Mr. Lulu is our MD here today, also mentioned it, bottom line. Some ideas that some marketers bring to improve on a product that is not selling will wipe out the remaining margin that is remaining for the product. So early on, before you start wasting your energy, right, go and sit with your boss and say, sir, I have an initiative that I want to run. This is the potential budget what's going to cost. What's the impact on the eventual brand contribution? We'll do that tomorrow. We'll talk about finance tomorrow. Brand contribution. Some of these brands we're talking about, some of them don't have more than maybe 40% margin or 30%. Such that if you want to do a pack change, by reason of the grammage that you are bringing in, it will take another 5% from what is left. At the end of it, everything is gone. So no marketing intervention is worth the suicide of a brand. Keep that in mind. No marketing intervention, no matter how brilliant the idea is worth you spending enough money to kill that brand at the end of the day. So you want to check the health of the brand. It's called the brand health, to know if that brand actually has the money to finance it. Around the areas of price that Julie talked about, to be honest, we are in business, right? We are in business. And the more marketers appreciate the numbers, the more effective you become. There are certain products that the price cannot go down. In fact, the price has to go up. And that's why you are here as a marketer, to try to create the price value perception in your campaigns. If your marketing campaign and strategy, like I think Mr. Adesoye said, Kule said, that if your marketing cannot help to increase the why they should buy the product, even with the price increase, then there's no point. All of us should go home. Let's just leave the salespeople to be selling. Sorry, we should talk to ourselves. I'm a marketer too. I know everybody says we are just spending money in the company. We are the ones that spend money. Finance doesn't like us too much. But that is just what it is. But at least going forward, we want to show them that what we are spending is intentional and it is bringing about measurable impact that we can show the business going forward. So on the issue of price, there are some times that we just can't do much. What we need to do better is maybe refine our communication, get a deeper customer insight, ensure that our reps are meeting on their metrics, daily number of calls, product penetration, right? This is very important analysis. How many pharmacies, what percentage of your pharmacies have your product on the shelf? What percentage? And that you can calculate. I mean, we can help with that. We do that for some companies. If your product is only available in 20% of pharmacies, then why are you talking about price increase? Your problem is not price increase. Your problem is that the product is not even available in the first place, in the channels that it needs to be in. So before we talk or touch price, let's touch other things, right? Can we improve our marketing communication to be more insight driven? Can we improve on our place in terms of product availability in the channels? Is our distributor as effective as we think? Is our wholesaler really supporting in the region that we place them? All of those things that we can improve on before we go on. Julie, hope I've answered your question.
Yes, sir. You have answered the question. So there is a question here from the Q&A. So the person is saying, please remind me the term you used, what we should be looking at instead of using the word prevalence. He wants a reminder.
In clinic prevalence.
All right. So in clinic prevalence. Thank you.
Yes, in clinic. Don't let somebody give you statistics of patients that include the ones that go to wherever place to find a solution apart from drugs. All right, next slide, please. My time. Next. So some examples. So when we're looking at, different segments going into 2023, I mean, this is just data that is real. We just wanted to share it for the benefit of everyone. So when you're looking at certain segments, you want to look at the growth trend. Which trends segments are growing? For example, various are every other drug, like things like things like what are they called now? Diagnostics, substances, specialty classes, very rare. There are not so many, right? And these are areas that anybody can investigate and say, what's part of various? Which drug classes fall there? That is growing at 134%, right, over time. And this is compared with from 2021 right, to 2022. And it's consistent a bit, even from 2020. Are we playing in that segment? This is something that is worth considering. Then when you look at the systemic hormonals, this is also a very growing segment, probably because of what MEC plays there, Ferring plays there, that they are doing. Also because maybe there's an increase around the age group that are looking to have children but are not having it, because you want to ensure that whatever you are seeing in the market, you can also defend from a perspective of patients, right? Do not look at market in isolation of patients and disease, please. Because that market you are looking at will just be products that are flowing to another country. If you do not have clear connection with either prescription, patient numbers, or trend locally, please be very careful of it. Then you also have areas like anti-infectives for systemic use. It's also kind of growing in trend. We also have sensory organs. These are drugs for centrally acting drugs for pain, and also some drugs for allergies. and also going there, musculoskeletal pain and all of that. Now, it doesn't mean that the whole of respiratory is declining. No, it just means that certain classes in respiratory, because we need to break it down, and you see what I'm saying later, may not be growing. So these are some of the things you want to look at to say, if I'm telling my boss that, okay, anti-infective is a segment that is really important for us to continue to invest, I want to show him that this segment is growing by 33%, and not just in percent. I also want to tell him the amount, right? What does 33% translate to in Naira terms and potentially in volume as well? Next slide. Now, when it comes to even molecules, right? Again, we said you can look at opportunities from a molecules angle. When we looked at the trend of prescription of antihypertensives to patients as dispensed in pharmacies, these are pharmacies in about 16 states, amlodipine is the most dispensed, right? It's the most dispensed, and specifically the 10 milligram. Some of your companies here may also notice the trend that it looks like 10 milligrams sells more than 5. So that trend we've also seen. What I'm saying here is that we need to be able to quantify all of these segments. So I'm able to say that, okay, 30% of antihypertensive segment is amlodipine, and this translates to whatever millions or billions in dollars or in naira. And I'm able to say, okay, this company is number one, this brand is number one, and this is the trend going forward. Because if I don't know that this whole segment, let's say the whole of amlodipine is what's just about 8 billion naira, right? And I say I want to have 15% of the market share. Am I realistic? Right? As a company, can we even afford the MOQ, right? Can we turn around that same MOQ twice in a year or 3 times in a year? And I think these are some of the areas that brand plans just become so weak and theoretical because they're not specific, they're not measurable, based on external insights, not necessarily just internal insights alone. Sorry, Mr. Lucky Nwaje, please go ahead. You have your hand raised.
All right, Sheon, thank you very much for what you have been doing. Please, I'd like to ask this at this point, especially when you are sharing this slide on opportunities. Is it wise or is it scientific to say while trying to forecast, maybe looking at a market share or market size of a particular segment, you are looking at now, let's say amlodipine, let's say 10 milligram, and you are coming into that market, and you are looking at, say, 30%. Of course, you can extrapolate to have the market size. Now, what formula would you use to appropriate or to forecast your own share or what you want to have, the share you want to grab in that market space? So, of course, that will lead to what would be your first year forecast, okay? And then what formula also do you want to use for your projection, the second year, third year? Is there any yardstick for such projection or extrapolation? Thank you.
Great question. Great question. One of the very first approach that I'll suggest, which even for me, honestly, I didn't use back then because I learned it later. Maybe if I knew it would have helped, is that when you are doing your forecast, you should do it from 2 angles. The first one is what we call supply side forecast. I'll put that in the chat area. So you have the first one is supply side forecast. Then the other side is demand side forecast. And I'll explain what they mean. So the supply side forecast is from you to the market, right? To say, okay, as a company, what can we sell based on our internal capability? Sometimes some companies bring products in certain classes or in certain volume that they don't even have the capability to sell. In other words, one, if you look at the existing number of channel members you have, or basically number of pharmacies or hospitals in your database current that your sales force deal with, can they take up that kind of volume? And you can work it out, right? If I have, let's say, 100 pharmacies in our database, we're a small company, we're just starting. We have only 100 pharmacies and we have only 4 reps, right? Okay, I can say for those 100 pharmacies, I ask my rep, Go to those hospitals, you have relationship with them. Try to find out, right? The day you get there exactly, ask them the stock of amlodipine they have and the quantity they sell in a month. Automatically, you build a data that you can use, which means that from a supply side, as a company, you know that you cannot do more than the 100. Don't say we are going to increase, we are going to grow. Be conservative, because it's your first stock that you are bringing in. So first of all, is your internal capability of how many chain members do we have? If we are going to seed these products in all of them, right? How many can we put in all of them that, yeah, we know that the worst case scenario is going to sell, right? It's going to move. So you have the worst case, best case scenario. Then also we look at our sales capability. How many people do we have? What's our logistics system? Can it take it? So that way you're looking inside. And even your reps, right? Do your reps have the ability to sell that kind of products? I once know of a company, I won't mention name, that brought in a class of drugs that their reps cannot sell. Their reps are not academic, right? They can't detail science. They don't know what HMG-CoA reductase mean. They can't even pronounce it, right? So how did you bring it, into the company? So that is the forecast supply side. Now, the demand side is from the market in, and that's the most important. Market in is like that data I mentioned, where you send people to the field to go and gather the data. You look at the quantity of products, that particular molecule, let's say amlodipine, dispensed by pharmacies, dispensed by hospitals, how many brands play in that segment. You do what you call a KSF, key success factor, to actually win in that segment. What does it take? And I'll tell you really from our data, a lot of these old molecules, the originators still seem to be leading for some reason, right? For some of them, yes, right? It's a bit challenging. But even for certain segments, for example, in antihypertensives, we notice that no single drug, no one drug has up to double-digit market share. In other words, every brand in antihypertensives has 9% share and less, which means that it's a very, very, what's the word now? It's a very, very, what's the word in marketing? Who can help me? We have experts here now. It's a very saturated segment, right? Almost consumerized. So you look at your external data, what is being sold in the channels, how many brands exist, what is the monthly sales of a pharmacy, what is the quarterly sales of a pharmacy, what quantity do they sell, the companies that are doing well, what do they do, the companies that are new, what do they do? Then from our own aspect, okay, how many channels members do we have, how many reps do we have, how many places can we sell to, and you look at the two numbers, and then you harmonize the two of them. For certain other diseases, right, you may want to also use prevalence rate of diseases. But if you're looking at hypertension, to be honest, and you're coming in as a late player with an amlodipine, it's good to know disease prevalence, but you're probably going to win by taking market share from those that exist, right? It's going to be too costly for you to go and get new patients, right? It's certainly too costly. So that's the way I would advise that you do it. And those data are available, right? If you want to have access to them, to be able to compare. At the end of the day, you have to use your judgment as well to build the best case and worst case scenario and mid case scenario, but you must have the supply side data and the demand side data and compare the two. I don't know if that helps. I'm so sorry. How could I forget your name just right now? I don't know if I answered your question, sir. And would anybody also like to, Mr. Lucky? Yeah, Lucky. I hope I answered your question. Anybody else also want to advise? Anybody? Please, there are a lot of experienced people here. I know you don't want to advise a competition, but try, please. Francis. Francis wants to talk. I don't know why it's not working. Oh. All right, so sorry, Francis, keep trying, huh? Maybe you have to log out and back in. All right, so let me move because of our time. We need to be ending very soon. Next slide, just a few more examples. So this is an example as also on how you quantify market opportunity. This is data from about 512 pharmacies, 16 states, more than 10 million items dispensed. So this way you can look at, okay, if I want to deal in the diabetes space, for example, what is the trend? For example, we noticed that 7 out of every 10 patients is prescribed a metformin, glibenclamide, or either of the two in combination, right? That's just the segment. You can't easily change that. You can't easily change the doctor behavior. So if you are saying that you want to have, you know, I don't know, 30% market share with a non-metformin, glibenclamide, or a non-combination, how are you going to do it, right? In 1 year, how are you going to do it? Because there's a trend already, and markets don't change quickly. Doctors don't change quickly. It takes time to change their behavior, right? So here you can see that certain segments are growing, certain segments are declining. If you are playing in a declining segment, it doesn't mean that you are declining, right? It could still mean that you are still getting market share from others. So this minus 2.6% CAGR from 2019 to 2022 for metformin does not mean all metformin are declining, no. Within that class, what it could just mean that competition is tough, even though the whole category may have suffered a bit, but some are taking market share from each other and they are growing. So if I'm doing my opportunity sizing, I'm going to write clearly that the market size for metformin, or market share for metformin, is 49.3% of all oral antidiabetics, and this is worth whatever billion, and blah, 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 number of brands playing, and this is what I want to go for. So it makes it measurable. Here again, you can see that about 931 brands or SKUs that play in the metformin space. I mean, you can see a very interesting that all of the other molecules, glycoside, insulin, vinagliptin, metformin, sitagliptin, insulin, and all of that seem to be growing quite well. This is free information. We're not selling this one, so get it for free. Next slide. All right, so the same thing for multivitamin. Now, I'm shifting from prescription medicine to OTC. And this is intentional for colleagues that play in the OTC segment. You need to move beyond just vitamins, right? There's nothing like just vitamins. Patients don't think like that. When patients go to a pharmacy, they think about themselves. They think based on their category thinking. And I'll show the next slide, which means that I'm going with a child, I want a vitamin for a child. If I'm pregnant, I want a vitamin for pregnancy. If I'm a grown-up postmenopausal woman, I would like to have something for that, right? Something formulated for women post-menopause, if there's anything like that. And I hope maybe any company wants to try. So when we look at the vitamin class, chemically, we can classify or break it down, and we can also do it by patient persona. Now, if we're looking at it by chemical class, which is the formulation, multivitamin combination is number one. What does this tell us? Patients want to buy that drug, and look at the list of all the items inside the vitamin, right? And we got this from actually research as well, insight, that for pregnancy, for example, patients literally know the number of components in the drug. Pregnant women, they will count it for you. They will tell you some have 12, some have 13. Right? So that is a critical customer insight that you want to also keep on. So if I'm going into the vitamin space, I'm very clear that maybe 65% of this vitamin segment is a combination, only plain. So for example, if you have a vitamin that is a plain, only one, you can see you're already playing 13% of the market. It's already limited you. So, and all of this would help you to quantify better so that you are realistic in your plan. Next slide. Let's go to the customer persona. So when we look at vitamins based on the patient group they are made for, right? So we looked at all of the almost maybe 800 multivitamins or vitamins out there. We noticed that each of them addresses different patient persona. So you see that general wellness, which is not for any particular category, right? They will now have vitamins for pregnancy, for women's health, for children wellness, neuro care, healthcare, eye care, diabetes, immune boosting, fertility, all of that, right? And we're seeing that this is increasing. Vitamin segment is becoming more niche over time, right? Where you're having vitamin for different classes. So if I have a drug for women's health, vitamin, I have to be very clear that I'm already playing in 1.8% of the market as at 2021, or 2.2% of the vitamin segment based on 2022 volume consumption. And I'm able to work out and plan with real data. Next slide. Even by formulation, remember I told you that I said that formulation could be an opportunity. So sometimes you also want to look at in a particular segment and say, you know, what formulation do patients seem to be liking, especially if you're looking at new product introduction. So here, for example, you see that capsules and also syrups seem to be the major volume drivers, volume, not value, but at least volume drivers for capsule. In other words, if the tablets that are driving value, in other words, the tablets are, because tablets are leading the Naira sales. If the tablets could adjust to capsule, right? I mean, look at that data. If let's say in 2022, that 37.6% is the Naira value share of tablets that are vitamins. If those tablets could only bring in a capsule formulation, only, right? They will drive their volume from the 17.79 to probably say, you know, another 20%. And that would influence also their value shares, right, going forward. So opportunities can come in formulation types, but you need to be able to quantify it, which is what I'm trying to show here. Last but not the least, the next one, I think the last one now. Yeah. So the last one is we can also quantify patients, right? In other words, for example, how many patients are out there that would need a metformin and sulfonylurea combination? Remember what I talked about before, prevalence. You can see prevalence is the first one on top, which is 5% prevalence of type 2 diabetes, which is about 4 million of the population, right? But not all of them go for treatment, like we said, right? That 4 million, we also need to look at what percentage of those ones will be diagnosed at the end of the day in the hospital. Of the ones that are diagnosed, what percentage will receive treatment? Of the ones that have received treatment, what percentage will be treated with the monotherapy, combination, or insulin? And of the ones treated with, let's say, combination, what percentage will be given metformin plus sulfonylurea? So you can see that from a prevalence of 4 million, the number has dropped to 405,000. And of that 405,000, only your brands, not only your brands will play in that segment, right? So these are the things that we need to do when it comes to either quantifying market size, quantifying patient numbers, quantifying formulation opportunities, or even quantifying molecule opportunities. Next slide. Any questions here, contribution before I go to the ending part? Right now, opportunity is clear, right? How do we measure opportunity and all of that? And by reason of what we've done already, in quantify opportunity, strategy becomes easier, right? Strategy becomes easier when you have quantified your opportunity. Any questions before we go? All right. If there are no questions, I'm happy because of my time. Let's go now to the important part, strategy. Strategy. Next slide, Julie or Elshel. All right. Next slide. What is strategy? Anybody? Oh, okay. I see one hand is raised. Please, if you raised your hand, did anybody? Okay, no.
Yes.
Oh, go ahead.
All right, Sheung, thanks again. Please, I wanted to find out, apart from just launching new products, sometimes you want to either relaunch or you want to do a year-on-year growth, you know, on the products that you have been selling. Is there a place for being ambitious with a product? Take, for example, I'm selling a product in the analgesic market. And let's say in a particular year, I did, let's say, 100,000 units. All right. Now, what will inform your decision to say, I want to sell 200,000 units the following year, you know, like a year-on-year growth? You know, so what decision can inform what you want to, I mean, your year-on-year projection, you know, on a product you're already doing, you know, you're already selling. You know, I don't know if that's if my question is clear.
Oh, lucky I've been there before now. I heard you. We've all done it before now, right? Like you said, ambitious growth. So ambition must meet insights. Ambition must meet market information. Ambition must meet, I won't call it reality because reality changes based on your marketing efforts, right? So it's not necessarily a reality, but your ambition in terms of your numbers must correlate with something in the market. There must be something you saw, you found, right? Maybe something that is happening or something that is not happening, or certain investments you are making, for example, let me give you an example. One of the things that we've noticed in our data is that some products are so regionalized. What we mean by regionalized is that they sell a lot in the West. We don't see them in the North, or not as much, or maybe play so well in the East. So it makes sense to say, okay, since we're not playing so well in the East, right, based on data we found, and we're not doing so well in the North, those could be our growth area. Then even for that, you say, okay, how many pharmacies are in that area? How many hospitals are in that area? What is their income level? What does it look like? What is the resourcing that we need, field force or whatever, to do that sales? Do we have any channel relationship? How many wholesalers do we have? How many doctors do we know, right? Based on prescription, we're going to do prescription. Do we have the doctors' names? Don't tell me we have 1,000 doctors in the East. No. The list of the doctors and their specialty and their contact details, right? Not including doctors that have JAPA. So if the rep is bringing the data from last year, tell him he has to go and change it because it has changed, right? So what I'm simply saying, Lucky, is it's good to be ambitious, and we have to, because we are marketers. That's why the company employed us. But when we are making those proposals, right, of growth, in one of the companies I used to work for, we call it line of sight. That growth has to be connected with one particular market information you found, that you quantified, and you want to play in. I don't know if I've answered you, Lucky.
Sir.
Yeah. All right, I can see some people are dropping off, so let's run this quickly. So what is strategy, please? I want two definitions. Someone said strategy is the plan to achieve set target. Thank you very much, Ayo. Menyene error. So Ayo, sorry if I pronounced it wrongly. Then Oladapo said measurable customers' feedback on the particular product. Opening up of new channels. Yeah, to grow the market, right? Mr. Oladapo, that's correct. What about the therapy area CAGR? What do you mean by that, Mayowa? Do you want to clarify further? You said, what about the therapy area CAGR? Oh, okay, Mr. Kunle Adesoye, please go ahead, sir.
Yeah, what is strategy? It's a plan of action designed to achieve a long-term overall aim.
It's a plan of action to achieve a long-term overall aim. Absolutely, sir. Absolutely, sir. Thank you very much. Someone said here, Oluwagbemi Ayodele says strategy is a set of measurable plan to achieving a set goal or target. Someone said for projecting growth. Yes. All right. So, like I said before, I'm always trying to bring a different perspective, right? Because obviously, if we know something different, maybe we can also use it to get different results. So I would like to kind of give another definition of strategy, right? All of what we've defined are correct. Okay, they're very correct. But I want to give another definition that is also going to be very helpful when we think about strategy. Next slide, please. So strategy is an integrated set of choices. Now, mind the word choices, right? Strategy starts when we are in a position to make a choice. But further to that is that it's an integrated set of choices that positions an organization within its environment. Mind the word environment, right? This is because we measured opportunities. Opportunities are within the environment. So strategy is strongly connected with the environment to achieve its vision over the long term. So I think some of the words also that Mr. Adesanya said also comes here in terms of long term. But I want to talk about that part of integrated choices, set of choices, which is where this one I'm taking it personal. I have issues with some companies and I want to complain, right? So you have a specialty product. You have made a choice that you want to play in oncology, right? So that is a choice. It's your strategy. You're taking a choice, which is the market. Now, you now bring in reps that don't understand pharmacology or anatomy. I don't get it, right? So you've taken a product, which is one of the pieces of marketing. Then when it comes to promotion, the reps are not aligned with the first choice of the product. Or let me speak to OTC companies, right? Companies that have OTCs, and I've experienced this as well. In fact, I've suffered this as well, where we have an OTC product that requires a lot of consumer insight, right? So this is an OTC, is a strategic choice. We made that choice. We'll go for OTC. However, we are using POM strategy or tactics. So even though we made a strategic choice of OTC, the other choices that we are making, right? Keep in mind that strategy is about making integrated set of choices that are aligned. We've decided an OTC, but our promotion is POM style. Our marketing people are POM people. Our sales strategy is POM strategy. There's no alignment. So I think really for me, right, whilst every definition is correct, like we've said, the most important part that I would like us to take is that strategy is about making choices. And in making those choices, our choices need to be aligned. If I'm doing a product that is purely OTC, that has to be sold in the Dumota, I should not be going to employ a rep that is wearing tie, that is very posh. Even though poshness is good, and you can be ras as well and be rugged, but all of those elements need to align. In other words, my product, my price, my promotion, my place, everything needs to be aligned, including the packaging. Some products are positioned as premium, but the packaging is not, is not aligning to it. So strategy starts, or development of strategy, when we start making choices or around how to win a long time based on our vision. Mr. Akula, so your hand is still raised. Is it from now or before? Do you want to say something?
Oh, sorry. I'll put it down now. Sorry.
All right, no worries. Next slide. I don't know. Does anybody agree with this in the context of our pharma markets? Anybody, do you agree with this or not? I'm still thinking about it myself. This is what Jack Welch said. Do you agree? And why or why not? Mr. Adoseye, go ahead, sir.
100% I agree with this. Because if you don't have anything that stands you out, then how do you want to compete?
But sir, from your experience, how well do we actually, in practice, as marketers, really spend time to get this competitive advantage before we start competing?
Unfortunately, both of us don't, but it's something that we really have to. Yeah. Because it's just common sense. If you don't have a competitive advantage, don't compete. I think it's as simple as that.
Well, a lot of many Me Too products are coming to the market. I don't know, anybody also wants to make a comment on this quickly. We are coming to an end, Julie. I know you are monitoring my time.
Noted.
Anybody want to comment on this as well? At this rate, I think Mr. Adoseye is almost winning our gift.
It's a lie, he can't win it. So yeah. I think it's a true statement. However, the truth about it is that I think so I understand what the statement is saying, and as marketers, especially in pharma, we get handed down products. They just decide, and then guy, take it, push it, and all, and then you are tasked with doing something that is almost a battle, uphill. However, like you said initially, if your product is not competitive advantage, should not be thought of in terms of just your product. Your communication, it's a competitive advantage. How we all have. Sometimes you look at the products, they don't have any, they're all the same diabetes people that they're talking to. But like you said, bringing elements of consumer insights and experience into it, you are able to differentiate yourself from your competitors. So I think there's always an advantage in the other piece. We just need to look inwards, and it's not just the product, it's not just the price. There are other levers you can play with. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Thank you, Sean. Oluwalana said most companies like to hit the ground running. All right, maybe I should use the word they like to hit the ground crashing.
Hello, Ayo.
Yes, sir. Go ahead, sir. Go ahead, sir. We can hear you, sir.
Okay, thank you. If we look at it in an holistic, very holistic manner, we see actually this is the bane of the pharmaceutical industry in Nigeria. Everybody is doing everything. And I think I've had cause to engage the DG of NAFDAC when I had the opportunity to look. The question is, how many brands of artemether lumefantrine have we registered, thus far? Maybe you even have access to that kind of data. 10,000 or even more, 20,000. So what's the difference between Mr. A and Mr. B? And unfortunately, most of the people that have approached me of recent is the same product they're still talking about that they want to go into. And the last one, the very last one, who even told me that he's in Lagos, he would like to see me. I said, well, sorry, you can't see me, I'm in Canada. But what I told him is this: okay, fine, you want to do artemether lumefantrine. The question I want you to answer is that, how will you compete with Lonart? Do you have the muscle? Do you have, and Lonart is not the only player. There are some other junior brothers of Lonart that are Indian and stuff like that. So how are you going to compete with them? But then I gave him, because when I see that he was really determined, I said, okay, fine. Will you now choose a region where you want to operate? Yeah. And I said, okay, fine. I'm coming with this anti-malaria, but I'm going to be in Kano. And because of what I know in Kano, because of the how I can go in deep, how I can do this and that, this is where I want to stay. Then you can't be talking of coming in here. But when all of us are doing the same thing, I have so many products, almost 35 of them. But 1-2 years ago, I asked myself, hey, can I really compete in there? Or is it just all about pricing? And you will always find someone that is cheaper than yours. When your landing cost is, for instance, 300 naira, and people are telling you they are selling this product 200 naira in Idumota, what are you supposed to do? These are the things, and that is why I decided, okay, fine. I have seen 2-3 products where I can compete. Number one, I have a story to tell in the clinics. So if I go into the clinic, there is something new that I'm telling the doctors that makes sense, like what you put in here, value proposition. There is something of value that I bring with me that I can get in exchange for his time. Yeah, because apart from the very unethical thing that we know happen between the doctors and our reps, you need to have something of value that you exchange that time of his that you are taking. And to me, I could see it is working. Another big problem that we have, and which the marketers need to consider, is which channel are you going to get your bread buttered? Because the hospitals are very bad for us now. Very, very bad. For those of us who are selling mostly POM, that you need the core hospital contact before you can get anything. For instance, I have a product that is used mostly for post-surgical pain. So where do I go to other than the hospital? But what we've done is that we take a leak within the hospital system. We got beaten seriously. But in the process, the prescriptions start going outside. And now we can get to the wholesalers or distributors and say, hey, if you don't pay me, I'm not going to deliver the goods to you. So these are really good things that I want my friends and colleagues in the house to look into. We lost it really when the multinationals started living in the late 90s and whatever. And the idea, deep marketing like this, started disappearing. But we need to get it back, not only for our individual company, but for the Nigerian pharmaceutical industry, for us to really be vibrant and to be dynamic like other industries are. We really need to be asking ourselves, why am I in this? Why do I need to do amlodipine? We know many people have burned their fingers by importing ton loads of amlodipine, and they find out that they cannot compete. The same thing with anti-malaria and all sorts. So thank you for all this again, Ayo and team. I'm enjoying it. And if need be again, I will come online. Thank you.
Awesome. Thank you so much, sir. That's what you know, Mr. Lulu just shared now. Cost money. You know, those experiences cost money, cost years, and years. In fact, for us as marketers, our decisions cost money. You know, our decisions cost money. In response to one of the things that, you know, Sean said, Eramo, yes, I agree. Sometimes products are passed to you. And in fact, most of the time, you won't have a choice to decide which product. But if you get a Me Too product dropped in your hand, then you have to go and investigate, you know, find out something you can do, right, about it, around the other piece. And the answer is always in the market. Keep that in mind. The answer to any question you have regarding your brand, competition, challenge you're facing is in the market. You know, go and find it or speak to those at least that have the data. Let's run quickly, just a few slides that are left. I'm just going to talk over them because of our time. When we think about strategy, and this speaks to what Mr. Lulu also said. If you remember what he was saying about that man that wanted to bring in an anti-malaria, and when the man was hesitant, he told him, okay, do you want to focus on a particular region? Maybe the man has information about that region and maybe it can work, right? So also for strategy, there has to be an external consistency. Your strategy must coincide, must be connected to opportunity or mitigate the threats that exist externally. In other words, if you develop a strategy and there's no connection with something outside in the market, it's just poetry. It's just waste of time. So when somebody says a strategy to you, ask him what market insight, what market information triggered that particular strategy. There also has to be internal consistency. Can we do it? Right? Ask yourself, this strategy I'm proposing, can we do it? Does it connect with other decisions that we have made? Do we have the capability? Do we have the resources? Does it complement other decisions that we've taken? Does it complement other activities that we're going to be making? Or is just another thing that we're adding to all of what we are doing? And more importantly, also, it has to have a view of the long term, right? How does it take us to where we're going? Normally, strategy decisions should be between about 4 to 5 years, even though some companies now do dynamic strategy, which is they plan short-term strategies, but every company needs to look at what works for them going forward. Next slide. So strategy is a choice. It's about selecting options. It's about selecting, like I said before, which markets you want to play in, which drug class. And by doing that, automatically, when you've selected a product, automatically you selected your customer, right? Maybe specialist or maybe certain patient group. Then what are you offering? Can your product deliver on that strategy? And also, does your brand have something different from others going forward? Next slide. So there are some generic strategies that I just want to talk about generally when you look at your planning for next year. Your strategy, for example, could be market expansion. In other words, you want to grow an existing brand, like Mr. Lucky was asking. To grow an existing brand, you may want to see a situation where existing customers can buy more, right? So Lucky, you can upsell existing people. Look at all your customers in your customer list. What are they buying averagely from your historical data? Can you move them by another 10% to do 20 packs more, 40 packs more? And also assure them on what you are doing around demand generation. Can you get new customers to buy or new doctors to prescribe? And can you sell to new parts of the country, like I said before, new markets? You could also want to grow with new products, in which case you found an unmet need. I know it's very challenging to find an unmet need in our market, but those that find it usually win big, right? Because the effort of finding it eventually actually justifies the reward, and the reward justifies the effort if you're able to find unmet needs. For example, do you want to update an existing SKU, formulation type, dosage strength, change the pack to make it look better aesthetically? If that is connected to customer insight, are you looking at line extensions, or you're looking at new products that are not before be marketed? Like I said before, please advise, have somebody in your company that is able to research and present at least once in a quarter data on products that have lost expiry in the last 5 years and the ones that will lose expiry in the coming 5 years. so that at least you have an option of new molecules you can bring that does not put you in the red zone. In other words, your blue ocean strategy with new product that nobody has. Next slide. Then you could also look at market share growth, right? So you're already playing there, and you want to grow your market share, get some shares from existing players. Aggressive marketing tactics is very aggressive, where you look at all the places where your competition is playing, and you go right there to drive a switch. Or you want to play in a niche area like fertility, right? Merck is investing a lot, Ferring is investing a lot, right, in that segment. Perhaps you want to enter it and reap from their efforts. Please don't tell Merck, it's not me that said it. I'm just talking, right? So you want to reap in those areas where other companies are growing, or you want to protect your share, right? You are the market leader. You are the top 5, right? So the likes of Lonat, Glucophage, Daovan, all of those guys want to protect their market based on where you are playing so that you don't lose out there. Or you want to consider market exits. Please, companies should at least once a year, worst case, once a year, do a proper brand health check. So a brand health check is that you look at everything about that brand compared with competition, including the bottom line, and ask yourself the question, is it still worth it, us promoting this brand? You heard what Mr. Lulu just said then, that he had about 30 products, but you had to take a decision and see the product that have to die. You may have to kill some products. I know it's painful. Some employees may be affected, but if the company does not exist again, would there be even any employee in the first place, right? Those decisions that we have to take. I've had to take do such things before, where I planned the death of my own products and in a way also affected my own job. It's business, right? There's nothing you can do about that. But sometimes instead of killing the product, maybe you have a wholesaler, you can give it to a distributor, let them take care of it, be responsible for selling it and everything. So you take it off your books. The only thing on your books is just your cost of sales or the cost of selling it to them. Every other thing, you take off your books and you preserve the margin. No more reps, no more marketing, nothing. But of course, it's still an experiment because some of the feedbacks we had about some of those arrangements is that those products kind of decline over time when the owner of the brand is not the one promoting it. But again, if the right things are done by the third party, and that may not be the case going forward. Next slide. So I think I should stop here because of our time. I'll take the rest of the slides tomorrow together with the brand planning. So all of what we've done today, what does it mean for the brand plan? I will look at the different structure of the brand plan. What should be in each brand plan, each section? What makes a weak plan? What makes a strong brand plan? Then we'll talk about the numbers. Remember, the MDs want to see the numbers. We'll talk about the numbers as well tomorrow going forward. So I apologize that we've not had enough time for today. Like I said before, it's a content that normally takes us 3-4 days to complete. But thanks for joining. Tomorrow, we'll also look at the case studies going forward. But I think we've had a great conversation for today. Just before we go, I don't know, Julie, I think we should reserve it to tomorrow to announce our participants for the day, right? I'll leave that to you. Yes. So that nobody, it's Julie and Shewu, it's not me.
Right? Tomorrow.
All right. So thank you everyone for listening. It's been a pleasure learning from everyone as well.
Wow, like double wow. Like we've learned a lot. So many words to go on with. One of the things I'm going on with is the solution I'm looking for is inside the market. So it's not like it is vague and I can't find it. It is in the market. That solution you're looking for is in the market. Your ambition should not be greater than the market space. However, at this point, we have to, so sad, but we just have to close for the day. Can our participants please put a thumbs up, a clapping, ovation, dancing, reaction, if you truly enjoyed today's session? Keep it coming, keep it coming, keep it coming, keep it coming, keep it coming. Thank you very much. Thank you very much. To our amiable PBR team, we are saying a very, very big thank you to our speaker. Thank you, sir, Mr. Ayo. You've done justice to everything we need to, most of the things we need to know concerning marketing and how well we are going to plan for year 2024. Thank you so much for the PBR team, Mr. Larry, Madam Yinka. Thank you so much for the backups, for the backends. Thank you so much. PBR support teams, thank you, and God bless you. For the MD of the Merit Healthcare and Sun Pharma, Mr. Lulu O, thank you so much. You really helped us to explain and give us some insights from your experience, and we do not take this for granted. Thank you very much. To all our amiable participants, thank you for joining us, and we'll see you tomorrow. We'll see you tomorrow where we conclude this particular workshop. However, for those of us asking for the video of this webinar, it is going to be available. But in order for you to access it, you need to go to our YouTube page, PBR Life Sciences, subscribe, like, and turn on the notification button in order for you to get notified when the recording is uploaded on the channel. Thank you very much to our participants. You are the real MVP, and we start tomorrow same time, 3:30 p.m. Thank you.